Hey, so I wanted to make this video um, to talk about something in the tabloids. Obviously, everybody talking about the Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson fiasco. I wanted to chime in because um, I think that there's something that is kind of being lost in the conversation that I wanted to point out. Not because either person to me is like better or worse. But I want to say this because in response to the narrative that women are kind of missing when they having this conversation, which nowadays is pretty normalized that when women have conversations about, and men too, but in this we're gonna talk about the female perspective. When people break up in society, a lot of people make relationship decisions based solely on what they want, which is cool. You know what I'm saying? That's normal these days. But I don't think that in this case, Megan and her, fans and the women who are so vehemently in defense of her really understand what it is that she tried to do in the situation and why guys are giving so much pushback. Forget the trolls. Forget the trolls and the people who just gonna troll. Black women and have millions of trolls. A black woman could be doing everything right, or she could be taking care of her kid, and or she could be giving her man a back rub. She could be doing whatever it is. She's gonna have trolls. So that's not the topic of conversation. What I think is being lost in this is that women have to understand that there's a dynamic in this that some of them I think are intentionally denying it, but it's status. It's about status, and I think that that's what's not being. They're not being transparent when they're having this conversation about why is it a big deal. It's always, well, she could do what she want to do. She could do this. What's the problem when men do this? What's her dating history got to do with anything? It's always these rhetorical questions that is not the point. The point is status, right? So if you don't know, I'm a college educated man. I have a bachelor's degree in business. And one of the lessons that we are taught is about status and how status works, how wealth works, how generational wealth and status works. And a lot of women are not taught this, a lot of men either, but in particular for women because in one breath they acknowledge it, but then when it doesn't fit their narrative, they don't like to acknowledge it. So what do I mean by that? Megan Thee Stallion, right? Megan. From my understanding, I could be wrong, but I've only ever seen Megan's mom. When she started off her career as a rapper, I've only ever heard them talk about her mother. I've never seen a picture of her father. I've never seen her mother and father. So I'm under the assumption, which I could be wrong, that her parents are not married. Her mom and her dad is not together. So what does that mean? There's only a certain level of status that she can attain. Okay? It's capped out for her. She can make billions of dollars, but her status is based off of family wealth. It's based off of family dynamics. So because her mom is not a wife, status in the day and age of society means that it's a cap. Why? Because her parents are not married. She's not married. You get what I'm saying? So her wealth is not going to be insulated into her clan, into her family. She has no choice but to attach herself into another family and make her heritage, or make her family unit viable on that level. She can make as much money as she wants, but it's just her money. If you look at a lot of successful couples or people that are married, They don't only get married because, oh, I love you. They do it for security. They do it for status. The marriage is a symbol of status. It's a status symbol. It's a wealth signal, right? That's how that works, and that's the actual business lesson. You know, maybe some people don't like it, but it's the truth. So it's about status. Klay Thompson, from my understanding, comes from a family where his dad was a successful athlete. His parents are married. I didn't really do a lot of research on his mom's background, which I'll take my lick for that. I should have did the research before I started the video. So any videos that I make in the future, I'm going to start trying to like make sure that I do my research. And even when I talk about other people's lives and situation, but my understanding, his dad's a successful athlete who obviously had to go to school or whatever, and is married. So his family status is higher than Megan Thee Stallion's status. Okay? Yes, it's not just about the individuals, because they're not starting in the same playing field and they're not under the same rules. Megan dating is not the same as Klay Thompson dating, because he's coming from a background of married people. She's coming from a background of her mom and her doing their thing and her creating all of this wealth. But what's it going to go to at the end? She doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have kids. She's dating casually, but it's no track record. It's like a credit score. It's no track record that this is going to build generational wealth. There's no track record that in her family that they're going to have a successful family unit in society. There's no track record of it. This is unfortunately for a lot of ladies who don't want to hear that, which is more about fandom than it is about the reality. That is what the problem is. And I'll use this as an example. It's a concept out here called dating down, called settling, right? And women know this concept because they're the main ones who talk about it in favor. Women talk about dating down, settling. I don't want to settle. She doesn't want to settle for a guy that's underneath her. She doesn't want to settle for a guy that's not up to her standard. She doesn't want to date down. She doesn't want to date down. So women understand why. Their status. A woman will tell their friend quickly, you're a doctor. You shouldn't date a guy that drives a bus. Okay? Remember this conversation? You're a lawyer. You shouldn't date a guy who's a manager at a store. You know what I'm saying? Why? What is that? That's a status conversation. Your status is higher than his. You're in rooms and conversations and around people. You're at restaurants that he can't get in. You're in business meetings talking numbers that he can't attain, that he does not deal with. You know, you're in around a conglomerate and around the groups of people who are married. That's the road you should be taking. Status. Okay, so women understand status. It just hurts because in this situation, it's not cool to see your homegirl, in this case Megan Thee Stallion, pull your typical street underhand tactic of this guy not doing what I want him to do. He's not pushing this along. I'm ready to get married. I want to up my status. I'm with a 6, 7, 8, 9, a nine-figure athlete. I'm with a 9-figure earner. You know what I'm saying? I'm rich. I'm successful. I'm beautiful. As far as talking from Meghan Thee Stallion, I want to up my status. That's the game that's being played. And with Klay Thompson being like, well, no, I'm not at that point in my life where I want to do that. That's not really in my personality style. We could have 50 girls around. That doesn't change what I want, what I desire. That's where the problem is. The status, okay? He can decide whenever he wants, I want to marry such and such. I want to marry this girl. That's going to elevate whatever woman's status, because women, for whatever reason, it's like this. Women get married to men with higher status, they get to automatically come up to that status, even if it's temporary. Men is in society is not worked that way. So a woman with a higher status can use that as leverage against a guy. That seems fun and comfortable when it's like fighting. When you beating up somebody in a smaller weight class, yeah, you feel very powerful. But you don't necessarily want to put your belts and your titles and your money and all that shit on the line when you're fighting somebody that's bigger than you. And this is what's going on with Megan Thee Stallion situation and Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson has more status than her, okay? He knows more millionaires than her. Fuck, he probably know more billionaires than her. He comes from a background with parents who are married. That's the ultimate goal for him and his clan and his people. He could date around and do whatever it is that he wants to do. Boys being boys. The day that he wants to get married and settle down and do X, Y, and Z, his parents have been married. The status is the status inequality. And in business, this is a real thing. So, for all of the ladies out here who are wondering, and some of them know this, they just don't want to, it doesn't feel cool to tell your girlfriend, hey, you probably should get married so that your family could have a better future. It doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative because it's not as fun. Their mindset is, let me do it on my own time. I want to sneak and do this. I want to sneak about it. I want to do it in this cute, this type of way that I want to do it. And I want a guy who's not going to necessarily notice, like, I'm doing this like this. He's just going to love me for who I am, So that's what this is about. It ain't about the dating, quote unquote, dating history for Klay Thompson, because he has more status than all the women that he date, including Megan Thee Stallion. And he's from a background of people that are married. So they're going to keep that money in their family. Megan Thee Stallion is not cut from that cloth, unfortunately. That's not something that she did, but that's just the reality of it. You coming from a situation where your mom made all the decisions, your parents are not married, you have a dating history, you're an entertainer and a rapper, okay? You have an extensive dating history. You have a criminal, not to say that she's a criminal, but you have a history of dealing with, things that led to criminal activity or whatever the case may be. However you want to pose it, you can get involved in some street shit and, that's going to be used against you as a woman because you're not a man. It's not going to be looked at as easy to look past, because people going to look at you like a liability. And that's just the reality. Is it comfortable for, if I'll pose a question like this. Meghan homegirl, Cardi B, her contemporary. If you had a son who was a 9-figure, he make hundreds of millions of dollars, a worldwide brand athlete, worldwide brand, would you want him to get married to a woman and then she runs down to the courthouse to get a divorce when the marriage gets tough? Even though she came into the marriage with not even a quarter of what you had, runs down to the marriage to get a divorce, then your son doesn't want to get the divorce. And then she decides, I'm going to get pregnant by another guy while I'm still married to your son. And can't nobody tell me nothing. And you look back at her past, was her parents married? Does her family come from any wealth? You would be like, hell no. You tell your son, no, don't do that. Don't do it. I don't care what's going on. Don't do it. Don't let her pressure you. Tell him, don't let her pressure you into doing it neither. Okay? Why? Because you're going to raise her status. She's going to think that she's on your level status-wise, and then she's going to put a hole in your pocket and ruin your family's wealth and finance, okay? And your family credibility. She's a liability to your status, okay? So that's what this conversation is about. To me, this Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson situation. It's about status, and unfortunately for a lot of women in the modern day, they don't want that to be a thing, even though they understand it. Like I say, women understand when they're dating down, when they're settling, when they don't want to settle, they don't want to date down, it's because of status. But if a woman, gamble and can't get her way because of the guy that she's involved with, because of his status, they want it to not apply. They want the double standard. They want status to apply when they use it. And then when the guy has status, they don't want it to apply. He's not better than her. He doesn't have more status than her. I don't know who he is. He's a nobody. He ain't nobody. You gotta lie. That man is a high status man. It ain't just because he's rich. It's because his parents was married and his parents had money. Now he's single and he's rich. Klay Thompson ain't even 40 years old yet. So whenever he decided to get married, generational wealth, status, okay? So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this video, just a little knowledge. Like I say, little current events, tabloid news, but that's what this is about, y'all. It's about status. So I'll holler at y'all later. Hey, thank you for watching the video if you enjoyed it. Peace.